Hello and welcome. We are here in London on behalf of SLR Lounge with Erik Almas, whom I'll be interviewing today. Erik, hello and welcome to London.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So if you'd like to first introduce yourself.
My name is Erik Almas, advertising photographer from Norway, but I have lived and worked the last 19 years in the US. Travel internationally, do a lot of high profile advertising work.
Great, thank you. Why did you choose commercial photography?
Wow. I didn't really choose commercial photography. I wanted to be a sports photographer, and I came to the US from Norway to study photography with a specialization in sport, and I did that almost the first 2 years of school. The idea was to learn as much as I could and then go back to Norway and work for the local newspaper and cover sports, Olympics, World Championships, and travel and see things that way. So halfway through school, about at the 2 year mark, my interest in photography started growing. I had this truly extraordinary teacher that changed my look on photography from taking and capturing, the peak moments in sports into really creating moments and setting it up and doing things that was more personal rather than just capturing. So that was a big turning point for me. And then I started exploring portraiture and landscape, and when I was done with school, there was a few photographers that I really wanted to work for, and all those were advertising photographers. So I guess I had an inherent interest in the work that was done and how that was applied commercially. And then I assisted, I came into a commercial world, and that was kind of what I knew. So a lot of people, they come into magazine work and do journalism or editorial first and then travel into advertising, but I just sort of ended up there by assisting and seeing what was done and kind of modeling my career path after the guy that I assisted.
And going back to your education and where you were first interested in photography, in what ways did attending the Academy of Art influence your work?
So I didn't choose the Academy of Art, someone else did. I initially was supposed to study photography in Norway, and then I talked to this photographer friend of mine in my hometown, and he says, you can't study photography in Norway, you have to go abroad, you have to go to the US, that's where the good schools are. He said, talk to my assistant, he's been doing a lot of research on schools and he's applying. So I talked to this guy, and he was very generous and said, this is all the research I've done, this is the school I decided for, and here's the application papers. So I just followed his lead, and 3 months later I was in the US at the Academy of Art College. School was amazing for me. I think there's amazing schools everywhere. What it comes down to is really the teachers, and I think the Academy of Art has been good at assembling really strong, really passionate teachers. So when I came to the academy, I got soaked up in this environment that was really about teaching and giving. And now you can absorb a lot of this stuff online, but what school does is to apply a framework for you, right? So that you get feedback on the work instantly, you get to have weekly assignments, and you get pushed forward to produce work consistently. So for me, the Academy of Art College was an amazing thing. I mean, it really put me where I am today. So school is not for everyone, but for me it was a really amazing experience.
Now, speaking about inspiration, what kind of a mentoring have you had, and what was the greatest piece of advice that you've received from them?
I graduated from school, and then as a foreign student you get a 1 year work visa so that you could work within the field that you studied, and I got a full-time assisting job at Eriks, and that was an extraordinary time for me. Not only an inspiring photographer, but also a great businessman. And I graduated with best portfolio in the spring show at the Academy of Art University, and thought, ooh, I'm a photographer. And realized, the first few days at work for Jim, that I knew nothing. Yes, I had a sort of a decent eye, but knew nothing about what went into crafting pictures, the deeper meaning of them, how you bring yourself to them, and also commercial production. I was completely at a loss the first few months, but I caught up and I learned a lot. So the assisting part for me was truly an extraordinary time, and that's what I consider, my apprenticeship or working for a mentor. Everyone has different paths. I'm not saying assisting is for everyone, but for me it was an extraordinary experience.
So was he the one who inspired you to do commercial photography, or were there any other artists who inspired you when you first started?
Yeah, of course there were. There was a lot of people that I looked at and whose work I really gravitated towards. Always liked Paolo Roversi. I discovered his work early on, and he has this really soulful, fashiony, portraity quality to his work, and it's really quite astounding. He's been an inspiration all the way. Even though my work looks nothing like his, it's still truly inspiring. Anna Leibovitz came a little bit later on, but I'm still really inspired by her work. A little bit controversial maybe, because everyone loves to hate Anna Leibovitz, but what she is so extraordinary at is at a very high volume, consistently, working, producing work at the quality and that level that she does. It's just baffling. She is an exceptional compositor, the way she puts things together and line up different elements within the shot. And then of course there's that human element. I think she's extraordinary also at connecting with people and getting people to shine in her photographs. Someone that's better at that than Annie Leibovitz is Avedon, and of course it's hard not to mention him when you talk about inspiring photographers. Again, maybe not as similar to the work I do, but it's a connection that he has between himself and the people he photographed that's nothing but astonishing. Of course I got inspired by the people that was close to me. This is pre-internet when I went to school, and a lot of the San Francisco photographers, Jim Eriks, who I worked for, was a great influence. Olaf Veltman is another guy that I could pull forward, who did a lot of beautiful landscape work. That was one of the early adopters of the computer and using Photoshop to sort of enhance the color palette. Amazing tactile quality to his work as well. So, I mean, there's influences everywhere, but those are a few. My first photo book ever was Robert Frank, The Americans. I bought Arnold Newman, I bought Greg Gorman, Irving Penn. So initially there wasn't the internet, so I bought a lot of photo books. So different influences by all the big masters really, whose books I could purchase.
I remember attending one of your seminars, and in one of them you mentioned to find your style in photography, that you must go through a magazine and take out pictures that inspire you in different styles and looks and some sort, and putting them together, you can, by looking at them, you can find your style in photography. Is that something you recommend?
Yeah,
also?
for sure. It's a great point. So I teach this in the DVD where there's two ways to get there, to find your style. The first is to go out and shoot pictures, and over time you will see certain themes surface, and you will realize that, oh, I'm attracted to these different things, and you would keep on shooting that and your style would surface. I think there's a shortcut to this process where instead of doing all this work yourself, that you look at other people's work and you collect this either from magazines like me, old school, or on the line, and you get conscious of why you like these pictures that you have assembled. Do you like them because of the light quality, the people that's in it, the subject matter, the mood of it? Is it somber? Is it happy? Is it bright in color? Is it muted color? When you manage to make yourself fully aware and conscious of the things you're drawn to, you've actually found your style. You can look at all these pictures you put together and say, I like this because of that and that because of this. And these elements, that light quality, that person, that landscape, that place, that mood, are the things that's my style. Those are the things I'm attracted to. So if you put all those notes down on paper and only focus on that when you take pictures, you will actually get to a place where you find your style pretty quickly.
Where do you think your style is evolving?
Wow. Good question. So So what I realized really is that as we all seek sort of an expression of ourselves, I realized the style isn't something that it's inherent, it comes from here. So I'm not sure if my style at this point where I sort of found my voice will change as much going forward. It's more how I apply that voice to what subject matters. So I think now the core of me and who I am, my style, will always be visible in the work I do, and then I can apply it to different subject matters and different things. And with that, of course, it will change a bit, but the core style of Erik Almas will always be there, I think.
And what was one of your favorite projects that you've done so far?
Wow. Actually just wrote about experiences in my blog today. So it's hard to measure one job or one experience against another because they're all different. And how can you say that one experience is better than another, yeah? Everyone is different and has an inherent sort of quality to it. If I'm to bring up one, maybe it would be an assignment I did a couple of years back for IHG. It's Intercontinental Hotel Group. It's the largest hotel group in the world. They have Intercontinental Hotel, Holiday Inn, Crown Plaza, 5-6 different hotel chains, and they traveled almost 2 months, literally around the world.
Wow.
Shooting for them, and that's an experience that's just extraordinary. And you just pinch yourself a little bit thinking that someone will allow you to travel around the world to take pictures and make a decent living at it. So I think that's one of the biggest assignment for me personally.
If you had a dream job with relatively unlimited cash flow and freedom, of course, what would you do?
I think it would be the same. If you ask me about projects, and then if I had more money to apply to it, it wouldn't change anything really. Maybe I would travel further and get more help, but it doesn't change sort of the pursuit of expressing oneself. So if I had a dream job and more money, it wouldn't change the thing that I'm seeking and the thing that I want to do. So a quieter sensibility and more honest expression maybe would still be the things that I'd love to do in the future.
At what point did you realize, wow, this is getting big?
Wow. Can't quite remember. I do remember my first big assignment though. And there was a lot of older people that came from the advertising agency, and it was me and my assistant and the producer. We were all sort of this young crowd, and remember thinking that, wow, I can't believe they trust us 20-year-old somethings, to do these big assignments. But they did, and we performed well, and I do sense that pressure though, almost on every job. There's no job that doesn't come with some set of anxiety or hope of what's the weather going to be like, is everyone going to perform, like the talent, and is all the pieces going to come together. So there's all these unknowns when taking pictures. So I feel it's big every time. To be honest, I do feel that pressure.
Yes, of course. What's the most difficult part of your work, and how do you overcome that?
I mean, the most difficult part really is taking the pictures. You can say maybe the most difficult part is to get the job, to get people to trust you with their advertising budget, to say that you go ahead and do this for us. That is a big piece of it, and it's tough to start with, but when you get a reputation and you've shown that you could successfully repeat your style and your vision over and over again, the most difficult part become to excel and to make sure that you set yourself up to do good pictures every time. So the taking picture parts is by far the difficult, or by far the most difficult. Let me see how I say this. Whenever I take pictures, I try to understand what the people hire me try to accomplish. What do they want to say with the pictures? What is their purpose? And all that stuff I try to absorb, and when I get to the location where we're going to shoot, I just try to put myself in that place and get a picture that somewhat feels honest to the cause of the photograph. So I don't just show up and think, oh, I'm just going to snap a photograph that looks like mine. I truly stand there and soak it up and say, what is the purpose? How can I connect to it? And what is about this thing that's personal to me, so that I can bring myself to the project? And maybe that sounds a little sort of out there or ethereal, but it's truly how I connect to the purpose of the picture. And I think that might be the hardest part, to be conscious of it all the time, that there's an honest standpoint to it, and that it got to come from here.
And are there times that you wanted to quit?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not now, for sure. I mean, when I started out, and then I assisted for almost 3 years, and then I had this struggle of getting work, and I felt my pictures were good enough. I was getting to a place where I felt, it was applicable to the advertising community, and I still could not get any work. It was this trying to move forward while standing still and not being able to break through that wall. And I actually decided to quit here in the US, pack up and move home to Norway. And I had this crazy chance encounter that inspired me to stay. And I did not quit. And this person told me that, just hang in there. If you move, you would want to come back here, but that would be too late for you. And I ended up staying, and as this guy said, I ended up breaking through that wall, and I've not really stopped working since. So yes, I've been wanting to quit, but the last 8-9 years I have not. I've been living my dream, really. So there's no way I'm quitting now.
Right. I have another question for you. So it's popular to ask advice for aspiring photographers, but you've moved past what's normal for a working professional to a degree. What would you say to someone who's been doing this for a few years, but still hasn't quite reached their goal?
Oh, good question. So I think the biggest advice I could give is to not give up. When you're at that threshold where you've been at it for a while but still haven't sort of reached your goals, it's important to stay at it. There's impatience, I think, in today's society, where we all expect to be super successful and get things right away. And it's not quite that way with a craft like photography. It's so easy to get into, and it's so easy to do, but to get really good at it, to get consistent at it, takes time. So I'd say give yourself patience and keep on working at it. Like the question you asked, was there a time for me where I was about to give up? And yes, there was. And at that time I got encouragement to continue. And I think when you get the most frustrated and when things feels the hardest, that's when you're the closest to reach your goal. So I'd say keep on doing what you're doing. And then of course you gotta be consistently making pictures. You can't sit in front of the computer and retouch your pictures and say, oh, I'm not getting anywhere. You gotta be outside consistently, keep doing pictures, and shoot really. So those would be my two big encouragements.
I'd like to ask you, other than photography, what is the one thing that drives you towards the weekend or a day off?
Wow, photography is so all-encompassing to me. It's there all the time. There's rarely a moment where I don't think about pictures and what to do next and how I can get better and what needs to get done on the business side. That said, anything with exercise, I run and mountain bike. Those moments are precious to me. That's where I get to lower my shoulders and work physically, which helps me also mentally to relax and get a little bit of distance to my passions. Winemaking is another thing, and I think the highlights of my life is when I can be with good friends and eat good food and drink good wine and share sort of moments like that. I think that's what I look forward to.
Great. I'd like to thank you for being here with us today in London and answering all these great questions.
My pleasure.
And a big thank you to SLR Lounge for putting this all together. Thank you.